What's up guys, it's your host Spartanic Arts DxD back with another high school DxD related video. And today we have What If Issei Left, part 12. Let's try to hit 400 to 500 likes for this video. That would be absolutely amazing. And if you guys want to know exactly when I upload / my upload schedule, click the little blue button right next to the subscribe button or click the first link down in the description below. Or if you're in the premium right now, which I know once again at least 120 of you people are, go ahead and click the first link that's pinned at the very top. So I just want to thank you for all the support that's been going on. You know, we're about to hit 60,000 subscribers on Palpowski. We're pushing 40,000 on Spartanic. Hopefully we get that in like 2 months or something. That'd be cool, you know. And obviously Fallen DxD, I'm testing some things out, a little bit of shorts, you know what I'm saying? We got that going on. We might do some reaction. Tell me, I can't upload me reacting to anime on YouTube or I don't think any other streaming service as well. So what would you guys want? Would you guys want me to start a Patreon and then react to the anime on there? Like for my reactions to like High School DxD, Dragon Ball, things like that, etc. Because I can't react to things like that on YouTube, obviously, because of copyright issues. That'd be pretty cool. That was just one of my ideas. But like, yeah, just let me know if you guys want that to happen down in the comments down below. And without further ado, let's go ahead and thank my balance breakers: Aunt Lewis, Lachlan Yates, Jordan Patchout, Night Ammo, Refeek 135, Slow, the Black Dragon Emperor, Keep Saying 21, Undefined Truth, VR Wolf, XRX108, Ziki 2000, Chen Byun, Chaotic Raven, Mazaku, Dr. MLG _ the Bomb, Grimfire Shot Gamer, Ryuga, Responder, Rob the King, and Zero Fusion. Thank you so much for becoming a balance breaker. And without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get into part 12. So we're basically at the end at chapter 19. So we're with Issei. So we're picking up at the end of chapter 19. He had grown stronger physically after another 5 weeks of constant training, and he was glad that his magic core grew a little as well, thanks to that book that Ajuka gave him. Unfortunately, he could still not awaken Ddraig, nor his innate power. He was a bit frustrated by this. He felt like he was getting nowhere. He decided to calm himself and focus on other aspects like the area that he was in. He read how Argeris clan had the power of time, which he remembered Sekiryuutei, his fellow mecha otaku, demonstrating this. She had created a time bubble and informed him that he could spend an hour in the bubble, but only a few minutes would pass in the outside world. He could not help but wonder if the person that helped Beelzar all those years ago was someone from the Argeris clan. However, this reminded him that he could not ask Ddraig for answers. Well, I better start my sword training, but at least I could practice with these daggers, as he spun one of the daggers that Tanin gave him. With the daggers, he felt a surge of power, but he didn't want to rely on those weapons to produce his power like he did before with the boosted gear. In addition, he also changed his wardrobe as the Koa Academy was stretching. Now he wore a white undershort sleeve navy / black jacket with black pants, with gray and black leather gloves and black boots. His hair had grown longer, but because he was human, he was starting to get of a stubble. For accessories, he had 3 straps around his left forearm and multiple belts. Maybe I can find something in treasure room to use, since Ascalon is not available. Damn, I wish I could get someone to talk to or train with, as he walked toward the exit room into the treasure room while strapping the daggers to the belts on his waist. When he entered, his face was blinded by all the gold, gems, and valuables. It was also the reason why he didn't need the Oppai Dragon money at all, distancing himself from that name. Let's see what I can find here, Issei started to say, as he began to rummage through the treasures. He found a short sword. It looked decent enough, so he tried a few swings of it, and it felt like it would fly out of his hand. Too light, Issei said. Needs something a little heavier than Ascalon. Since I am used to it more, Issei said. He tossed the short sword away and continued looking. I can make you strong, the random person said. What was that? Issei said. Turning around, he looked around, seeing nothing but treasures. His hand went to one of his daggers and his eyes narrowed. But before he turned back to the door, another sword was to use. You want to prove that you're better? I can help you. Issei drew both daggers and was ready. Searching around, the voice was closer this time. Who's there? Issei said. His body was tensed up. He thought no one else could get into this cave. Turn around and see. Issei did as the voice said he did. All he saw was treasure, more treasure, and the black blade. Andorite. Is the blade talking to me? Issei said as he began to walk towards the blade, looking at the blade quizzically. You have a sense of justice, but you have some resentment, a balance of both light and dark inside of you. So you are talking to me, Issei said, placing his hands on the blade. He felt a sense of calmness, but also rage, two sides of the same coin. How can you help me? You want to be better, to improve yourself, right? Andalite said. Why should I listen to you? After all, you are a demonic sword, Issei said. Yes, but did you forget that I became a demonic sword because my wielder fell into madness, thus causing me to fall as well? My former white blade stained black with darkness. Actually, I think it's pretty cool. You know, being a black blade, scratching his head embarrassingly, Issei said. Regardless, I have seen you. A pure heart. You nearly fell into madness but pulled yourself out. I believe you are worthy, and I think I can help you in return. Draw out the power that lies dormant in you, Arandite said. I should trust you because, Issei said, I have nothing else to lose. I've laid dormant for years, waiting for someone worthy. The word worthy, it was something that Issei wondered if he was. Alright. I may not trust you, and honestly, I have questioned that word of being worthy. Some people would say I'm not, but it's time to start believing in myself, and I got nothing left to lose. I need to get stronger to protect my loved ones. So, grabbing the hilt of the sword, welcome to the team, and pulled the blade from its prison. When Issei did, he felt a surge of both holy magic and demonic magic, fusing with his magic core, expanding it in Arandite. The blade glowed, remember, and then was set aflame. Issei was in shock. He had seen these flames. They were Ddraig's flames, but burned crimson and orange, but also flames of desolation, his innate power, that burned amber, orange, and black. The flame subsided from the blade. Issei dropped to his knee, panting heavily. His magic core was better than before. Just as I thought. Worthy, Arandite said. What did you do? My magic core, did you do that? Issei said. No, that was you. You needed confidence booster. You have been holding yourself back. You forgot why you were training. I just made you realize it and ignited that fire in you, Arandite said. Thank you. I guess I was going with the motion with no drive, Issei said, and now you do. Now let's go train your swordsmanship before you use magic. Let your magic core stabilize itself. You have just reawakened it. I did apply some holy magic and demonic magic to give it a jolt. I just needed you to rest. Issei took a swing with Arandite. He swung with one hand like he did with Ascalon, but he did not expect was a slash of air to come out and cut to the cave as well. Ksh! Issei ducked for a cover in case anything was going to fall before him, looking at the cave before the wall and the gash in the wall. We need to work on your control. Head back and meditate. You need to calm down. That happened because you were excited. Don't let the power go to your head, Arandite said. Issei nodded and did as the blade asked. He didn't want power to get to his head. He has seen what has happened to the others that did. He asked back into his training oasis, as he would call it, headed to the lake, stabbed Arandite into the ground, and sat down next to it to meditate. Pendragon Manor. So we're at the Pentadragon's place. Walking down the halls were three people, two men and a woman. The first man wore glasses with blonde hair, dressed in a business suit, was Arthur Pentadragon. The other man had short black hair and dressed in ancient Chinese armor while holding a bow staff over his right shoulder. He was the Arthur's teammate, Byoko. Finally, the woman had black hair and was dressed in a maid outfit. She was Elaine Westcott, the maid of the Pentadragon house, but also the teacher of Lefay Pentadragon and the girlfriend of Arthur Pentadragon. Before Arthur left home, his father, Uther, would not have allowed this relationship, and it was the reason why he left to protect Elaine from being banished if the relationship was discovered. Uther was also disappointed that Arthur and his sister joined the Chaos Brigade, but that disappointment changed to pride when seeing that they joined Team DXD. Uther allowed the relationship between his son and Elaine because he had brought the honor to the Pentadragon house. However, when he heard of Lefay's infidelity, he was distraught. He cared for his daughter deeply, but he lost his connection to Wales due to Issei being the Welsh Dragon's carrier, as he had an annual the engagement between Issei and Lefay. In doing so, he lost respect for Volley for doing such a heinous thing, and warned Elaine that if she dared to do such a thing, banishment would be the least of her concerns. So he was with another before fornicating with my sister, Arthur said, and still is. She has his mark. I did reckon that on the Hyoudou place. Kuroka and your sister don't have marks. Neither do the Gremories, Byaku said. And he was playing with them just for a fight, Arthur said. It's what he told the girl. She knew the plan as he told him not to get hurt. It was only just to fight Issei, make him enraged and give volley to fight that he wanted. Honestly, I'm down for fighting, but sleeping with another man's girl ain't the way to do it, Byaku said. Arthur kept quiet as he looked at the picture of his former leader with a beautiful girl with silver hair and purple eyes. Well, she had a bust, not as big as the Gremory. She made up with it for her lower half. That was what we could see as the yellow dress that she wore in the picture. Something that Arthur knew that Folly liked, which was the appearance of a woman, rather than her breasts, like Issei did. Poor Lefay, Elaine said. Yes, but remember, she chose this path, as did Kuroka, Arthur said, to which Byaku nodded in agreement, a bit sadly. Suddenly, they felt a surge of power deep within the castle. She's awakened after so many years, but why? Arthur said. Come on, Elaine, running down the halls. Lead the way, Elaine said, following after him. Wait a minute. Running to catch up to them. What's that about? Who is she? Byaku said. She is the secret of the Dragon family. Having been with them from the beginning, she locked herself away and dormant for 100 years, Elaine said. Really now? Must be the old lady, Byaku said. Elaine, get ready. As they ventured into the caverns that lie deep beneath the castle, Arthur said, they kept running until they reached a stone wall. Once there, Elaine began to ignite an incinerate chant as multiple seals activated and began shifting around. She kept chanting and chanting. Seals rotated and finally they dispersed after 10 minutes of spell chanting to stone wall. The stone wall began to shift, causing dust to blow towards them as they covered their eyes. When the dust cleared, Arthur and Elaine stepped forward and bowed. Byaku could see some kind of cocoon in the background and silhouette in the smoke that was in the room and being released when the stone wall moved. It's an honor to be in your presence, Arthur said. You've been sleeping for so long. This world is not as you remembered. Welcome, Elaine said. Byaku watched as a silhouette stepped out of the dust, and smoke and blood dripped from his nose. It was a naked woman. She had a slim, voluptuous figure, black hair, gold eyes, a beauty mark under her right eye. The skin around her chin and mouth was in patches of pink in her normal skin tone. So this is today's world. And who are you? The mysterious person said. I am Arthur Dragon, heir of the Dragon house and descendant of Arthur Dragon and Morgan Le Fay. Well done, Arthur, she whispered, remembering a young man from back on her day that she raised like a son and taught him what he needed to know about becoming a king of Camelot. I am Elaine Westcott, descendant of William Wynne Westcott, one of the founders of Golden Dawn. I see, and you, turning your attention at the gawking Byaku. Hearing nothing but silence, Elaine and Arthur turned to their companion, who was stunned by the beauty of this woman, despite the scars around her chin and mouth. You have a vulgar look on your face, Elaine said. Byaku, Arthur replied, going to his teammate and grabbing him by the back of his head, forcing him to bow while bowing himself. Sorry for my teammate, Lady Merlin. He just cannot concentrate between of your current state of dress. The now named Merlin had a smirk on her face. She did not really care for the modesty, so she did not really care about others seeing her body, given how she used to dress back in the day. No worries, as she snapped her fingers, but nothing happened. Rather than panicking, she thought my powers either they're gone or dormant. Seems I've been asleep longer than I thought. It damn near drained me. I'll need more immense power source to join myself back, but I don't think I'll be as powerful as before, Merlin said. If I may, Lady Merlin, gesturing to the body. Go on, Merlin said. Elaine activated a magic circle underneath Merlin's feet. As it traveled upwards, it began to dress her. She was now wearing 2 dark purple sleeves that went up to her shoulders, a matching dark purple tube top that concentrating a long purple skirt and had black heels. To the cupid top of the place, she had a brown belt around her midsection. Not bad, Merlin said as she admired the outfit Elaine dressed her in. Thank you, Lady Merlin, bowing in grace. You don't need to bow. You two can stop bowing. I am dressed properly, Merlin said. At that statement, Byaku and Arthur stood right up straight and looked at the woman. Byaku did look a little sad that she was dressed now, and no longer naked, but he had to admit for an old lady she was beautiful. So it appears that I have been asleep longer than I thought. From what I see, a lot has changed, Merlin said. You would be correct, Lady Merlin, Arthur replied. Well then, as she walked away, trying to get her legs to wake as she walked past the 3 of them. I'd rather not be stuck in a stuffy cave. Would you? Merlin said, looking back at them. No, I would not, Elaine replied as she turned her face to the mage walking away. Then, get a move on. And you said that that you're Arthur Pentadragon, correct? Merlin said. Yes, I am, Lady Merlin, as the three begin to walk towards the exit. Good. Then you and your friends can tell all that I've missed. And what has recently happened, something caused me to wake up, and I would like to know what it is. Besides, I'm curious about the adventures that you've been on. Excuse me? Byuko said. He was confused. If she was asleep, how did she know if they'd been on adventures and not just spontaneously meet? I can tell that you're strong, and that strength comes from experience that you can get from only journeying. Speaking as if she read his mind. Now, come on, we have much to discuss. And that is the end of chapter 19. Chapter 20. The Pentadragon Manor. So there are more fairies or giants, the gods that still exist? Merlin said. To an extent, different mythologies have those creatures, Arthur replied. Arthur, Byuko, and Elaine had been explaining what the world was like, or rather the supernatural world, as they ate dinner. They had met Arthur's father, Uther, who was blessed to be in the mage's presence and offered her meals to the statue of her hunger as she has been sealed for so long. He was amazed that she didn't age a day for what the scriptures of his ancestor depicted her as. I see. Tell me, Uther, are there any more children of yours besides Arthur? Merlin said, as she finished swallowing some of her food. Arthur placed his cautery down and had a somber expression on his face as he remembered about his daughter, Lefay. But in remembering her, he remembered that act that she did, but let out a sigh and responded, Yes, I do. A daughter. Her name is Lefay. She was quite a fan of your work, Uther said. Oh, and where is she? Merlin said, intrigued to meet the fan of hers. Probably out with her demon lover, Uther said, grumbling at the actions of his daughter did. Father, Arthur said. It's true and you know it, Arthur, Uther said. Not necessarily, Uther said. It appears that he has no interest in your daughter, and she was used for his own gain, which to his son into a fight, Byuko said. I'd like to hear about this, and who is Issei? Merlin said. I'll say it. My daughter cheated on the Red Dragon Emperor Issei Hyoudou with his rival, Vali Lucifer. The Red Dragon Emperor, as she pondered. I've heard of that title before. Merlin said, Father, I'd advise you not to call him Hyoudou anymore. After all, they were involved in his betrayal, Arthur said. Yes, I forgot. If he wants, I would adopt him and he can bear the Pentadragon name with you, Arthur. He still wanted that the connection to Wales, and possibly adopting Issei would be another course of action that he could take, Uther said. Where is the Sekiryuutei? Merlin said, cutting into the conversation between the father and son. No one knows where he is, other than that he is training, Arthur said. I see. I have a feeling that he may have been involved in my awakening. During the early days, once, Arthur, your ancestor developed the Knights of the Round Table. There was the one that had the sword, Arondite. We've heard of that blade, Arthur said. However, its wielder descended into madness. Yes, his name was Lancelot, but his son Galahad had captured the blade and requested me to seal it with his treasures. He also called himself by that title, the Sekiryuutei. He had also had me take the dragon known as Ddraig to his caves to his place in France, believing the people would look for the dragon's treasures, and also it would be the birthplace of his father. He also wanted a training room of sorts, but he wanted the area that he could find place to time to go faster than the outside world. You'd think Issei could have gone there, Byuko said. Possibly. Galahad wanted it to be a place for the Red Dragon Emperor to train and go stronger, faster. Hence why inside the time there goes so much faster than out here. But I had kept a seal on Arondite. In case it is drawn from its prison, it would send me an alert, and I think that's what Issei drew the sword, Merlin said. Then something must have happened to Ascalon. If he needed a weapon, why was the sword sealed, Arthur said, to keep it from falling into the wrong hands. Is this Issei a bad person, Merlin said. Nah, he may be a pervert, but overall he's a good guy, Byuko said. Pervert? So he's similar to the captain, Merlin said, remembering her now former captain would do perverted things with his beloved, such as sticking his head under the skirt of her, fondling her breast. Yes, but unfortunately, it may have been the cause of his downfall, Arthur said. Please explain. You did mention the betrayal against the Red Dragon Emperor, Merlin said. So Arthur and Byuko began to relay the memories that they had seen. The meeting, Issei, as Merlin listened intently. She realized that throughout the story, Issei was very similar to her captain in attitude, and also she felt disappointment that someone that idolized her would do such a thing, as she remembered a former student of hers that tried to betray her. Anyway, there is a meeting at the end of the week with all the factions discussed his absence, and apparently something else regarding the 40 enemy of ours, Arthur said. A meeting? There are other factions as well? Take me to this meeting with you, I'd like to see for myself, Merlin said. What? Byoka replied. This meeting of yours, is it to discuss his absence? I may get a better insight on if he descended into madness as well, and maybe there are subjects that are close to him, so I can learn more about his character other than being perverted good guy, if you don't mind, Merlin said. I don't see the problem, considering there may be any other humans like Team Slashdog and KOKO and his team, Arthur said. Wait a minute. Didn't Team Slashdog tell us a story of how they faced a catchphrase that wielded a rondite? Byoka said. Yes, how could I forget? But if Lady Merlin did not wake up then it's a fake, or it was reproduced from fragments of the seal thing, Merlin said. I suppose you could talk with them at the meeting, since they are repossessed of it after the battle, but the whereabouts of the catcher are unknown, Arthur said. And they still have it, Merlin said. Not sure. Haven't spoken to them after the revelations of my sister's infidelity, as they are close to our former leader, Volley Lucifer. But if they attend the meeting, you can ask them, receiving a nod from the legendary mage as they continued to eat their food, but making sure that Merlin was accommodated quite well. Now, at the office at the Leviathan, so Seraphal's office, Seraphal was in her office, listening to her sister reports of what had been going on in school, and how her accomplice did not raise the suspicions of the girls. Are you sure of this? Seraphal said. Yes, it feels like they forgot about Issei, which surprises me. It's why I was hoping that Tanyan could come to the meeting and maybe give us some insight on the ritual, Sona said. I understand, but it does benefit us a little as it gives us more time. But from the looks of it, it seems the exile is looking the best course of action, Seraphal said. Is that it? Sona replied. No. They will receive no compensation nor rewards from the war. They will only have Issei's money, and congratulations are in order, giving her sister a smile, Seraphal said. For what? Sona said, raising an eyebrow. Well, as she got up from her seat, however, she needed to use a walker now, but she was glad to be out of the wheelchair. You are a sole owner of Kotown for the time being. Rias had her ownership revoked considering her betrayal. She has also been quite irresponsible, Seraphal says. I see, and why for the time being, Sona replied. Well, other Harris may join you, but nevertheless, congratulations, finally. Reaching her sister with the walker to give her a hug, you always knew how to make me proud, Seraphal says. Thank you, Sona said, reciprocating the hug. Now, letting go of Sona, how are Kiba and Gasper acting like in school? Relatively normal, although I feel they are hiding something. Why do you ask? Sona says, look at this. Walking back to her desk, Sona waited a couple of minutes until Seraphal set it in her seat again and pulled out a crystal, a recording crystal to be specific. What is it? It looks familiar, Sona said. This is the crystal that we use in our meeting with Issei and Saul's memories. The reason why I ask you about those two is because of this. Activating the crystal, holding the image of Issei catching the two blondes leaving the hotel with the Seraph, and former exorcists look at their faces. I didn't want to believe it. When Valerie contacted me, do they look as happy as the girls in this image to you? Seraphal said. No, almost remorseful. You didn't think Rias forced them, do you? But why? Sona said. I don't know. Considering what they did, they may still be exiled, but if they were forced, they may have some leniency to continue to do some contracts to earn some money, because as you know, an exiled demon would lose all of their contracts, Seraphal said. But if they were forced to do this, wouldn't they be innocent? Sona said. Perhaps, but they could have defied Rias and chose not to. Think about it. Didn't Issei defy her to save that useless nun, Seraphal said? Yes, Sona replied. So why didn't they do the same? We'll know more when we confront them. Their situation is a little different from Rosvisa, which we'll have to see what Shamazi finds. Seraphal said. What do you mean? You know something? Sona says. A little. But Gondel reported that Rosvisa contacted her. She confessed to being drugged with an aristokid. Gondel reported this to Odin, who was furious and contacted us, since Rosvisa is a demon. So it does fall under our jurisdiction. We already contacted Shemazazi, who will look further into this, but if proven true, Rosvisa is to remain exiled as long as she is under Rias' command. However, she may visit her grandmother and be confined to an area that her grandmother inhabits in Asgard. Wait, so if she traded to another Parad, then Rosvisa wouldn't be banished anymore, Sona said. Something like that. But if proven true, I think she should have something worried about being traded, Seraphal said. But she would be free, Sona replied. Think about it, Sona. If she was indeed drugged, who knows what other things someone else might do to her. If anything, I think it would prefer a female king than a male king, and considering we are demons and we associate with 7 sins, it would not surprise me if another would try to the same thing. There would be nothing that we can do. Since you would be a part of the Parage, as you know, there is abuse towards pieces in our society. I understand, Sona says. It does make a little more sense, where the 3 are close together, but if Valerie came to Gasper's defense, I'm assuming he is getting something similar. Yes, he can only see Valerie, but everywhere else in the vampire faction he is exiled from. That was from Alemida's compromise to Valerie, which she accepted, probably to keep him away from Rias. But who wouldn't want to get away from such a spoiled brat, letting out a sigh, as Sona had informed of her rival's story. Yes, but one's pride always leads to their downfall, Sona says. Speaking of pride, how's our arrogant prisoner doing, Seraphol said. I wouldn't call him arrogant. He looks pitiful. I forgot to inform you about my visit to him, since I only went to confirm the use of Dragon's pheromones, but Vitra had been having his little fun utilizing his curses to break the bastards psychologically. That's wonderful. Ajuka had been extracting the power from the mutated pieces that Issei sent over. During his trial, he will put them into Rias's Parage. If you say so, because he is your piece at the moment, and since she wants him so much, but he is also exiled, what do you plan to do with the free pieces, Seraphol said. I plan to reincarnate those 3 that are helping me to keep the rumors from getting out of hand. The rest of my Parage doesn't seem to mind, Sona says. That's good. Speaking of those 3, you never told me which one was in love with him, and had a bad way of expressing it, with a mischievous smile on her face Seraphol had. Why do you care about who it is when he's already been with you? Sona says. Just curious, Seraphol said, showing her shoulder. Fine. It's Moriyama, Sona said, showing a picture of the aforementioned girl. Not bad. Cute. Nice bust. Although she will break if she ever got into bed with Issei-kun. You should have Loop Up and Tsubasa train her body up if she wants to even last a second around a bed with Issei-kun. Oni-sama, Sona said. What? I had heard about your escapades with Tsubaki from Grafia-chan. It should be not worried for you to hear about mine. I'm also a bit disappointed that you replaced me with some girl-on-girl action, Seraphol said. That was a misunderstanding. We'll take Grafia-san and explain the situation. Also, that is incest. You are suggesting, Sona says. Grafia-chan said that too, but I cannot be for certain. After all, you replaced me. Are my breasts bigger than hers? Cupping her breast in their dress, showing off her size, they gotten bigger. I will not answer that question, Oni-sama, Sony says. Fine. The next time you hook up with Tsubaki, send me this tape. Her eyes were closed, but her smile was still present. Oni-sama! Her face became as red as the Grimory's hair, but she was flabbergasted at his sister's request. I'm just teasing you, but if you do, opening her eyes with a mischievous glint. Ugh, Sona said as she stormed into the office with a massive blush on her face and Seraphol laughing at her sister's expense. Seraphol may have been changing back to her old self that made her become Maleviathan, but she was still Seraphol that enjoyed teasing her sister to no extent. And due to Issei's influence, the teasing tended to be perverted at times, to annoy Sona even further. Now in Demon territory in the human world. In the federal house of the Diomon clan, in the bedroom lay 2 silver-haired people. One was female, another one was male. They were naked under the sheets, and the right of the shoulder of the female was the mark of the Hirakaku. A buzz was heard as the phone lit up on the nightstand next to the bed. The male was out to reach for it, but the female beat him to it and grabbed the phone and scoffed at the screen. They cannot seem to understand you're done with them. Don't you have other lovers to be with? Also, your plan did not work, Volley-kun. I suppose it did not. But if he comes to face me, I will be ready after all. I was taking little pieces of Orphis during our times together. I needed to beat him. I know he has the strength of both dragon gods, and when I finds out what I did with his women, his anger will reach peak levels to give the fight that I want, Volley said. Well, it has been weeks and he has not come for you. While I don't agree with your methods, I am shocked by how she acts. She's spoiled. Grew up that way. It will be her downfall, but it's not my problem anymore, Volley said. Is it? Then why does she keep texting you? First, It was to join her in a scheduled location for some fun, as she put it. Then this Akano chick, then your two teammates. When are you going to tell them that it's over? You marked me, not them. They are just a game to bring out your rival. He didn't show up. The game is done. You won by forfeit. Genbu. They can't get enough of me, Volley said, acting cocky. Have you should know. Besides, I haven't left your side, have I? You did, when I allowed you to go forward with this plan of yours, and after that. I had to keep you restrained, but it seemed like that turned you on. That did assassination hybrid convert you? Genbu said. That woman in bed with Volley Lucifer was Genbo Domon, head of the Domon clan and the wielder of the Black Tortoise. She had known Volley since they were children and had been infatuated by him ever since, growing up to be the beauty in her own right. She was also the one that took Volley's virginity. Contrary to what some others may think, she was hopeless in love that she allowed Volley to go through with his plan, luring out of the rival to face him. He brought it up to her after Rias Gremory, the fiancée of his rival, offered herself to him, along with other women that were his rivals. Initially, she was against it, but after a week, she allowed it because she also wanted Volley's rival to see what kind of woman he was hitching himself to, and to hoping that he will have a better judgment moving forward. She also had a feeling that this Rias needed to be taught a lesson, thinking she could get away with anything, although Genbu knew the possibility of Volley being punished as well, but she would be able to protect him as the heiress of the Domo clan. I was only turned on because I was with you, the mark proves it. I never marked them. Hell, the bitch even had sex with the carrier of the prison dragon. If I loved her, I wouldn't have allowed that. Like I wouldn't allow another man to lay his hands on you, Volley said. Oh, really? Genbu said as she moved straddled to the young Lucifer. So, what would you do if I slept with your rival? Genbu said. The cockiness in Volley's tone disappeared and his expression hardening. What are you insinuating, Genbu? Volley said. Think about it. What if he wants payback and goes after me, but you'll be too busy fucking those to realize it, Genbu said. Volley took his phone from her hands and began to remove the numbers of the girls or any pictures of them or videos they sent him, the exception of being his two female teammates. Now, look. Handing his phone back to her, see, I'm done. No trace of them on there either. They call or anything will be unknown number that will show up. Disregard it. You've been with me from the start. Sure, I had a crush on my big sister figure, Leviatha, when I was young, but you made me notice you, and not just physically, as his hands roamed her curves. And what of the factions, Genbu said, turning off his phone and setting it back on the table. Probably banishment, maybe some sort of old malfaction may vouch for me, but don't think I will be executed or anything. They came on to me. I just gave them what they thought they wanted. I was even surprised that they endorsed me to his parents when I wanted to kill them, and frankly, I still kind of do, Volley said. Why is that? Genbu said. Because of how foolish they are. I honestly thought I had a bad life growing up, but it seems my rival had no one, especially after his little angel friend left. Well, at least he has the Seraph, since the little angel friend banked who he thought was his best friend, Volley said. Wasn't that you? Genbu said. No, he saw me as a brother. I can see why, considering how his parents ignored him. I had my mother, at least, then I guess you could say we both share the same father figure in Azazel. But he wanted to get a little revenge, Volley said. Revenge? Genbu asked. Yeah, after I slept with my two teammates, my teammate's sister, who is the Gremory's rook, along with the Gremmy herself with her queen and Orpheus, I contacted Azazel about my conquest, so to speak. He told me about how he seduced the Valkyries, since Hyoudou had made the Seraph Gabriel fall in love with him. Azazel was envious and decided to take the Valkyrie for himself. Not sure if she was interested in the Hyoudou, but I could hear their moans as I was speaking with him. He already took Pyoman a little earlier, around the time the Gremory took me to Hyodou's room from what he told me. So he was jealous that your rival conquered a supposed crush's heart and decided to take the woman that he'd been interested in him as revenge, Genbu said. 2. Pyoman confessed to Hyoudou, not sure about the Valkyrie, but I guess eye for an eye. I knew most of them cheated on him because we had an orgy in his room and then a family dinner after it. It still makes me laugh at the lies that the Gremory was telling his parents. How they were so proud of us, although her knight and bishop just bailed. You think they told your rival, Genbu said? I'm not sure if he's been there. Can't tell. My dragon senses seem to be off, Volley said. You talk with Albion about it, Genbu said. He hasn't spoken to me. Since the Gremory came to offer herself to me, he told me to walk away, but I tried to explain how we would win the rivalry this way, but he didn't want to hear any of it, Volley said. And what of your two teammates, Genbu replied, as he got up to Volley to lay down to backside. One may kill me for defiling his sister. Though it was Kuroko that came crawling back to the street cat that she is, back to its owner. She convinced LeFay and her own sister since Hyoudou was in a coma. She traded me for him and came back when he was out of commission, Vali said. That was because he saved your life from an attack from the Trihexa. Didn't you tell them that? Genbu said, no. I had to make myself seem superior in order for the plan to work. They're demons. They only look for some power, same with dragons. It's what made it easier to bring Orphis to me. Didn't have to use the dragon hormones like the prison dragon carrier did a couple of the girls, Vali said. I feel like this is going to backfire on you someday, Genbu said. Someday, but not today. Turning to her and giving her a kiss, she snuggled up to him. Vali did. As she got comfortable, Vali turned to look at the ceiling and he decided to contact Albion again. You there, Albion? Vali said. He got a response from his partner. Come on, we won. We beat our rival. I know may you not agree with my methods, but we won. He was trying to convince Albion. In the depths of the mind of Vali was the White Dragon Emperor Albion, who lay there. He could hear Vali's voice, but he never responded. He told Vali to walk away from the Gremmery. He didn't listen. When his black cat, if a teammate came running back, he was disgusted and told Vali to walk away. He didn't listen. When he saw that Vali lied about why Issei was unconscious, he was livid. But Vali kept him quiet from speaking, and seeing Orphis foolishly believe him. It was clear that she did not learn her lesson with Rizavim. Before Albion thought that with a Lucifer he had the strongest carrier, but with the arrogance that came with the name is what sullied his honor. You should know I don't want to speak to you. Not sure whether to call you Rizavim Jr. or Razavan Jr. Doesn't matter. You're a bastard, like either of them. Taking away your dragon senses is the best thing I can do. Otherwise, you would have called Issei out at the park. You forgot I can always sense where Ddraig is. So I am glad that I hid it from you. So many bridges have been burned because of your actions. So many bridges have been burned because of your actions. But even with Orphis, the power you stole, you won't be able to beat Ddraig in his carrier because you are a half-demon and he is a true dragon, Albion said. The White Dragon watched his carrier cuddle up to his lover and his mate. I can see you love her. It's why I allowed you to take place Dragon Mark on her. So don't play with her like you did with the Gremmery. So you better hope that another war doesn't break out because all you can use is the scale mail without my assistance. And I feel like it's going to take more than that if you want to protect her, Albion says. Closing his eyes and going back into his slumber, muting Vali's voice to have some peace. Midweek with Issei. Issei had been training his swordsmanship with a Rondite, while also meditating as instructed. It helped with his emotions as well as his magic prowess. He could sometimes utilize the magic with his swings and slashes, usually elemental magic with fire, wind, and ice. He was tired lighting, but he couldn't get it right. In addition, since he was used to wielding a sword with his left hand, because that was what Athcom was infused with a boosted gear, he chained with his right hand. Thanks to the muscle that he has grown, he could wield a sword as heavy as a Rondite with one hand. Before the actually used the sword, a Rondite had him train with a couple of regular swords that he found in the treasure room. He also continued with his knife training. Whenever he felt frustrated, he wasn't getting anywhere. His sword training needed something to keep his mind off his frustrations. They needed to be something physical, as his magic training was where he needed to poise otherwise. He may end up destroying parts of his training palace. You have improved rather well. See, you did not need those books to work on your swordsmanship, just a little more refinement, Arondite said. I was trying to develop a new style, my own style, so I figured that I'd start from scratch. As he threw a knife at the tree, practicing his knife throwing, Issei said, But why? You clearly have skill. It would be a shame to the ones who taught you, Arondite said. Yeah, well, the one who taught me is also one of the people that stabbed me in the back, Issei said. Could you elaborate a little more? Sorry if I had to bring back bad memories, Arondite said. No, it's fine. When I got Ascalon from the leader of heaven, the Archangel, Michael, I wasn't good with it. The sword was a gift, as means to strengthen the alliance between the demons, angels, and fallen angels. Michael did some sort of reconstruction of the sword to allow me to hold it because at the time I was a reincarnate of the demon with a dragon type sacred gear, and Ascalon is a holy sword with dragon slaying properties, so naturally I wouldn't have been able to wield it, Issei said. This is understandable. Then what happened? How did you seek out your former teacher? Arondite said. I didn't seek them out. After my first use, I utilized the dragon slaying properties to go against my former rival, Volley Lucifer. He wields Albion, the Hurakaku, who is the rival to my partner Ddraig, the Sekiryuutei. It led to a draw as I was trying to defend those of the Alliance from the traitorous attack. My former colleague, Kibo, who was the knight of my former mistress, Rias Gremory, offered to train me, since he was exceptional with using a sword, thanks to his training from Sekiryuutei, the knight of the Survex Lucifer, the older brother of Rias Gremory, and my Surgat older brother. And what is this Kiba? What did this Kiba do? Arondite said. Well, I had multiple women, who, I thought, loved me, and he slept with a few of them. One of them, who is the ace of Michael, and, swallowing as he choked a bit as he threw the knife into the tree, my childhood friend. Fault was on me. Should have known, though. He is the pretty boy at school. All the girls fawn over him, and his balance breaker is called the Sword of the Betrayer, Issei said. I'm sorry, Arondite said. The Bleem seemed distant, as if remembering something. I have experienced something similar, or my wielder did at least. He was involved in an affair as well, so I can understand your pain. Tell me. Did you love her? Arondite said. Who? My childhood friend? Well, she was the one that confessed to me, so at the time I did. I really did, and you would think as an angel she would tell no lies, but after the battle against the Trihexa, I was in a coma for 2 weeks, but I guess that's all it took to fabricate lies and deceit and turn their feelings off. She shocked me the most. Issei said. How so? Arondite said. Well, when she confessed, it seemed like she had been in love with me for years. She even took my first kiss. When we were children, and even when she was away, she didn't look at another guy. She made me feel like she loved me for years, but within a week, she turned those feelings off and threw me away, like the rest of them. Well, except my homeroom teacher, Ross Visa. She didn't exactly confess to me, but I thought we were building to a relationship. But I guess I was wrong, since she still slept with someone that I thought I could trust. But she had been drinking, so I don't know. Thanks to my dragon ability test, I had to replay the betrayals I endured, and I got some things that I missed before, betrayals. So it was more than one, and you didn't fall into madness. You impressed me even more, Arondite says. Well, I can thank Ddraig for that, and also some others like my fiancé, the Mal Leviathan, Seraphal Citri, Issei said. That is good. You had people there to pull you out of your darkness, Arondite said. So I am guessing your last wielder experienced something, huh? Issei said. Yes. But what he wouldn't admit was that his wielder was the cause of the betrayal. He was not the victim like Issei was. Let's go back to training. You have improved immensely, if your destruction of the arena is an indication, Arondite said. Where Issei was in the oasis, as he dubbed the training area, the trees were cut down and scorched. There were burn marks on the ground, and there were other ideas where he utilized whatever ice magic he could. Although ice melted, where he utilized whatever magic ice he could, although he was grateful to seeing his big sister Griffey in the battle to try to incorporate ice magic into his offense, but he preferred using fire and wind in his sword slashes. Right, let's get back to it, Issei said, walking to the tree that he was throwing knives in to retrieve them. And that is where we're going to stop for now, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying this episode, as, you know, it's been fun. So, like, I really did enjoy this little segment we had. I like seeing Albion's perspective on everything. I thought that was extremely interesting. I agree, obviously, you know, that was a terrible way to fight his rival. That literally makes no sense. I still think it's some bullshit, and that he just wanted to bang somebody. I don't think that it was just for a fight. I think that's cringe. But, yeah, I mean, he obviously lost in the end. I think Issei won, because, as they say, you know, like, she may have she may have betrayed him, but in the end, who really won? He found himself, right? Which is always good. That's always a good thing. Take that advice to the grave, boys. If she ever cheats on you, or she just loses feelings out of nowhere, that crazy shit, remember to find yourself after that, and then you'll see who really won in the end, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you so much for the support once again. We're pushing 60K on Aunt Popowski. That's crazy to me. I really want a YouTube play button, so I'm going for it. I'm not gonna lie. Thank you guys so much for the support. Like I know I keep saying that, but I really do appreciate. Thank you to all my balance breakers and limit breakers and Ultra Instinct members. I cannot appreciate you guys enough. You have no idea how much it helps. Seriously, it helps a lot. I got a lot of bills to pay. So once again, yeah, no, everything's been going pretty good. I'm chilling, you know, I'm relaxing a little bit more. I'm trying to get my mind at ease, as you can tell with all the streaming and stuff. Don't worry about my titles of my streams. I've gotten some comments about that. Don't worry about it. I'm okay, I think. And then so yeah, like hopefully everyone's been doing well, you know. 300 to 400 likes would be absolutely amazing, ladies and gentlemen. And without any further ado, Spartanic Arts DxD out.